Australia. A continent beyond imagination. Australia is my continent, I'd say. Filming took a total of 3 years. I could hardly believe my eyes the first time I saw kangaroos. It's a completely different world. Four filmmakers set out to capture the magnitude of the whole of Australia. To accomplish their task, they spent 620 days in the field and drove more than 100,000 kilometers. Within 3 years, they should return with pictures never seen before. Australia has always been a kind of dream come true when I'm here. When attempting to create a film looking at the entire continent, we were facing a very big challenge because the distances are simply gigantic. This is certainly a challenge, but one that we were happy to face in our attempt to somehow get the best footage possible. Simply having the opportunity to go down under was a highlight for me. The animals down under are completely different. Even if I used all of my imagination and all of my fantasies, I would never be able to think up such a thing. You can't make a film about Australia without showing kangaroos. The red kangaroo is the largest living kangaroo in Australia, and therefore we also wanted to show it. Our problem was that kangaroos have such an unbelievably long flight distance, and there's virtually no cover, so it was actually very difficult to get close to the animals. They often have flight distances covering several hundred meters. You therefore have to keep searching and observing until you find individual animals that allow it, that are a bit more friendly for whatever reason. We therefore traveled pretty deep into the desert and looked for locations in which these kangaroos can actually still be found in relatively large numbers. Before we traveled there, we also had to draw up a very precise shopping list in order to ensure that we didn't forget anything, because the next shop was 380 kilometers away. We do have an SUV that can drive off-road in the outback, but if you're really unlucky, the bed of the creek is sometimes just as wide as the car is long. So we thought, we'll just quickly drive through it. After all, it's dry, there's not even any water in it or mud. No problem at all. The riverbed was small and insignificant, at least we thought it was insignificant, but it was so narrow. We got stuck at the front and stuck at the back, and the wheels were free in the middle. We had to dig the car back out before we could do anything else. The lengths people will go to film red kangaroos, I don't want to have to dig everything up there because it's not necessary. Getting ourselves out of that mess was a pretty tough task. It was unnecessary because I reckon if we'd just driven 3 meters or more to the left or right, it wouldn't have happened. We were annoyed. We were really infuriated that this had happened. It actually ruined the entire day. Yet another fruitless day like so many times before. It's yet another reason for the Mystic Road, because Thoralf drove us into it and I had to dig us out. You do it once and then you see that it's hard, sweaty and annoying work, and then once you've done it, that's enough to last a lifetime. So one more spadeful and then we're nearly done. Thoralf, you can start the car back up in a second. Fortunately, we were lucky enough to find a female who had been raised by hand. That kangaroo just came hopping out of the bush. The scientist who was advising us said, "Hang on a second, I know that kangaroo. I haven't seen it for 2 years." She said we should go and take a look. And then we were actually able to approach the kangaroo, and she was able to touch it and pet it. And we said, "Yeah, that's great." And then she said, "Okay, I'll take a look and see whether there's a joey in a pouch." And then she opened the pouch and took a look inside and said, "Oh yes, there's one in there." We said, "What do you mean, you can look inside the pouch?" "Yes," she said, "with this animal I can." "Could you maybe put the camera in the pouch and let the camera take a look then?" And she said, "Yeah, let's give it a try." And she told me, "You feed it up here, and I'll carefully slide the camera in, and we'll see if it works." And we were actually able to take a peek inside the pouch whilst the female kangaroo was standing there. I was fascinated by the fact that it worked. It was really great. After all, the kangaroo has to allow it. The pouch consists of a muscular ring that they can close really tightly. And if the kangaroo doesn't want you to look inside, then you won't be able to look inside because it will simply close the ring. It was only because she was relaxed that we were, in fact, able to carefully open the pouch. Of course, I've never touched a kangaroo before, or fed one or anything like that. It was a special experience for me. Ow, my finger! Australia really is a very hot place. We filmed in the desert in summer, for example, near Alice Springs, and the temperatures were up in the 40s. In such heat, you somehow can't really do much at all. It pretty much paralyzes you to a large extent. You just drag yourself all over the place and try to somehow complete easy tasks. You can maybe sit behind the camera and wait, but you can't do much more. When it's so hot, you obviously have to drink absolutely loads. And you naturally have to make sure that you always have some spare water with you to last at least 2 days, especially when you're traveling by car. You see, getting stuck in the outback can be a life-threatening situation, even if it's just because of a flat tire. Flat tires are actually an everyday occurrence. The roads in Australia are very poor. The stones are sometimes very, very sharp-edged and cut into your tires, long cuts. And once that happens, the tires are nothing but junk. You feel very secure in the car. The cars there normally have air conditioning, so you don't actually realize it's hot. But if you get stuck out there, then you can really only survive for just a few hours. Getting stuck in the outback, in the actual desert in high temperatures, is most definitely more dangerous than all of the poisonous snakes and crocodiles put together. And it's also a risk that kills people every year in Australia. I'm sure everyone can imagine that such a situation can be life-threatening, above all when nobody drives by. You can travel many thousand kilometers in every direction, and once you've reached the middle, only then do you realize just how crazily huge and empty the country really is. I already told you can't do that with that thing. Oh my words, that's heavy. The angle here is rubbish. Put the rock in. I need to use it differently. Changing tires? I'm great at it. Very quick, very easy.
Gut.
It was always a big dream of mine to film scenes like this phenomenon, masses of Budgerigars. But we didn't really dare to dream of it because these appearances are extremely rare and completely unpredictable. We spent an unbelievably long time traveling through the outback looking for these flocks.
Mit dem Auto im Gelände durch die Gegend gefahren, auf der Suche nach diesen Schwärmen.
We'd heard that they can be found somewhere, but nobody knew exactly where, and then we found them by chance. This gathering only happens for half an hour every day. It's very short and then they split up again. They just come there to drink. We happened to be in this location by chance very early in the morning, and so just happened to see it. We were of course extremely pleased to be so lucky. I was really fascinated by how they were so coordinated and the shapes that they formed in the sky. You actually can't tear your eyes away from it. It's an absolute cauldron here. I've never experienced anything like it before. Unbelievable. They're flying around everywhere. It's just like a Hitchcock film. How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have no idea how many there are. I can't count that high. There are unbelievable numbers of birds here. We're so lucky. We've spent ages looking for them, and I've never seen such a large flock before. I think only a few people actually know that budgies normally fly through the land here in such giant flocks rather than sitting in a cramped cage. Keeping these birds in cages is of course not good for them. Sitting there alone in their cages, I get sad when I see things like that. I personally would never keep a bird in a cage. I think everyone needs to make their own decision as to whether they can account for keeping such birds in a cage. They can look at the images of these budgies and will then have to decide whether they think that these birds really belong in a cage. They're all trying to get to the water. You can see that there is an unbelievable sense of urgency. There's not enough space for them all by far, which leads to dramatic situations in which they land on each other, and some birds drown others. Predators then swoop down and try to hunt down their prey. The question is, what should I focus on? Should I focus on the hawk? Missed it. Of course it's frustrating when you miss a scene, but it is very difficult because you are so close to the action and have to follow it as it develops. But when they suddenly swoop away, their movements are extremely difficult to follow with your arm or hand-eye coordination. When the scene is over, we both actually look up from the viewfinder and look at each other, and when doing so, you either see a smiling face or you see a face that makes The falcon is hunting again now. It's hard to keep track of it. The hunt is the big thing. If you can get it, you're even happier, especially when it involved a very difficult process. The problem with honeypot ants is that they live, roost and nest underground, and that in principle you can't get underground with a camera. We spent a long time deliberating how we could actually film these creatures, and then came up with the idea that we should build an artificial ant cave. This is why we worked in cooperation with Aborigines, who have used these honeypot ants as a source of food. We therefore asked the Aborigines if they could find some for us without eating them, and they said yes, no problem at all, as long as we're allowed to eat them afterwards. And so the deal was done. We then had help from a person from Alice Springs who is married to an Aboriginal woman. We then created our construction from cement and earth and filmed it in their home. We took the ants and literally hung them all in there. These honeypot ants can't move at all anymore, but we actually took individual ants with a spoon and hung them from the roof of a nest. The children from the neighborhood came and asked us, "Have you finished filming yet? We would like to eat our honeypot ants. They won't get any better if you spend so long playing around with them. Can we have a nibble now?" So I said, they can have one, but then needed to go. I was actually surprised that it worked so well, that the ants really did act like they do in nature, that the workers looked after the actual honeypot ants, that they cared for them like they were underground. I'm exceptionally pleased with these images because they depict such a fascinating world that you normally don't get to see. Australia is a continent that makes you very aware of your life. We did, of course, already know that Australia is full of poisonous animals. You need to watch out a bit, and if you sleep in a tent like we did, you should quickly shine a light through it in the evening. You have to constantly be careful not to get close to them. They are always around, and you need to be a bit cautious, for example by really looking exactly where you are putting your hands when searching for firewood. After all, there might be something hidden there in the pile of wood. It's basically dangerous if you don't know that these animals are there. You therefore always need to be a bit careful. I somehow have a sixth sense for snakes. I can tell if they are around. I can see them. We did film very poisonous snakes, such as the eastern brown snake, the second most venomous snake on Earth, and the cause of very large numbers of accidents in Australia. If it's somehow 2 meters away from me, I don't need to be worried. We actually have difficulties finding snakes in order to film them, rather than vice versa. We wanted to film a black-breasted kite. It basically likes to brood in dead trees in the outback, but very high up. So we built a tower in order to get up to its level. I think it was 13 meters high, meaning that we were precisely at eye level with the black-breasted kite. The tower had a base measuring just 1 square meter, so it wasn't exactly in a stable position on the ground. Now we only need to fasten the safety bonds to the ground. I have to admit that I had clammy hands climbing up there. In my opinion, climbing up that tower is definitely a feat.
Eine Heldentat.
The tower moves in the wind just like a sailing boat. It does this. And you constantly feel like everything is moving. Are you ready? Yeah, I got it. Careful, careful, it's about to bash against the leather. No, I've got my foot on it, everything's okay. Okay. That was pretty wobbly indeed. Luckily, Toralf shot all the images. I didn't have to climb up the tower and was pretty pleased about that. The worst part was actually climbing back down. That was good for the filming. I always stayed up there for a long time. The most difficult thing about the filming was actually these wombats. You have to have a whole lot of patience to film wombats. First, you have to find a burrow in which you might be able to find one. Whenever we were on the road, we therefore always kept an eye out for wombat burrows. The best way to find a wombat population is simply to look for the most roadkill on the road. And when we thought, well, there are a lot of them lying on the road, so there must be a lot of them in the area. That's when we obviously had the most success in actually finding some. I've never come across such a difficult animal before, and that made the attempt somewhat extremely appealing. How can I do it? We tried out every single option. We tried using a hide. We tried just sitting and waiting for several days. We tried everything you could possibly imagine. Most of them used to disappear in their burrows at a flight distance of 80 to 200 meters. The possibilities of actually capturing them on film are very limited. We did find one method right at the end, namely to get them between us in order to confuse them. We did so by having one person with a camera approach them in a vehicle. The wombat therefore focused its attention on the vehicle, and I snuck up on it from behind. By doing so, we actually managed to get within about 30 meters of the animals. Actually managing to shoot images of these animals is therefore a reason to be very happy. I'm very pleased with them, I reckon. We were extremely lucky to have the chance to take aerial shots of extensive areas of Australia. All of these images were filmed from a helicopter using a stabilized camera platform, a so-called Cineflex. The Cineflex is in a ball that stabilizes the camera and hangs under the helicopter. We had a Cineflex operator, he was called Klaus Stuhl. The Cineflex system is very complicated, which is why we have a camera operator. He sits next to me and has a control panel with different joysticks that he can use to move the camera in all directions, as it were. In front of him is a large screen that he can use to see what the camera can see. I can see it too as I'm sitting next to him. So when I'm sitting next to the operator, I look at the screen with him, and then as the director on location, so to speak, I can tell him what I want. For example, I would like to film this waterfall and so on, and that's what he does. You then also need to discuss the shoot with a pilot, because he's the one flying the helicopter. If the teamwork is right and all the factors come together, you can film some stunning images. The aerial shots show a side of Australia that normal people don't actually get to see. We actually flew over the whole of Australia in the helicopter, over all the locations in which we filmed on the ground. That's ultimately what we did for 14 days. We flew around Ayers Rock and over the Barrier Reef, to the 12 Apostles, right down south the coast, in the desert, everywhere, really. I was also fascinated by the cassowary, the giant bird. Finding a cassowary was rather complicated. We traveled many kilometers that took a long time. I'll drive now. It also rains a lot, which isn't something you really connect with Australia. The area upriver had experienced unbelievably strong rainfall. We need to go through the river with our car. We didn't dare to try, however, because we were scared that it might be washed away and gone for good, including equipment and people. The area is teeming with crocodiles. We decided we'd rather not make the journey today. But we eventually ended up taking the risk, even though we had a bad feeling about it. There's the next river already. Oh well, it won't be as bad. Hopefully not. But that does look pretty... Are you sure that we should drive through that? Oh man. It's deeper than you think. My goodness, that's deep. It's going to wash right through the doors. Cool. Everything's okay. No problem. Let's move on. The first location that we'd chosen had been destroyed by a big tornado, so we had to move further north, where we knew we'd find some cassowaries. There are only a few cassowaries left in the world, probably around 1,500 in these huge forests in Australia. Look, here's one of those fruits. We knew that the cassowaries like these foods, so we sat there and waited. Bloodsucker. Thoralf and I have now been working together for 20 years. We sit there in silence for hours on end, which is perfectly fine, but sometimes we are also like an old married couple. Being together with just one person all the time can sometimes really get on your nerves. Yes, of course, there's sometimes quarrel and strife, but we don't bear a grudge, so things are over relatively quickly, and in this respect I'd say we're somehow made for each other. We're basically old friends, we're a good team and appreciate each other's company. We've already been sitting here for 4 hours now. Come on, it's time to change shifts. Okay then. It's my turn to read now. Is that my bookmark or yours? The first one's yours. We basically ended up sitting there for several weeks, which was obviously sometimes a bit boring. We've been sitting here the whole day now, almost. Yeah, around 6.5 hours or so. I'm going to take my own book with me tomorrow. Do you have one left? I think so. Oh my. Turn the camera on. Look. Look at that little thing, a chick. If the cassowary is looking after its young, the risk of it protecting its young is naturally a bit larger. He might therefore also easily attack people. There are a number of well-known fatal casualties in which people have died because cassowaries have very, very sharp claws and very powerful legs. If they feel threatened, pushed into a corner, they may well attack. We also experienced a situation in which a chick was curious and came over to me. They wanted to find out who these two people were sitting on their stools in the forest behind cameras, which was kind of bizarre. And well, the adult cassowary didn't like that, so he came up very close to us. They make a very deep sound, a kind of whoop whoop. And then we also got kind of scared, said that he was too close for comfort. He was pretty worked up and making strange noises. That was a bit weird. I mean, he came up and stood right in front of me, really only about 1.5 meters away from me. And then Torov stood up, he stood in the background with a stick, and then the cassowary went away again. And the situation was then resolved.
Die Situation ist dann verpufft.
The saltwater crocodiles in northern Australia are really dangerous, and now that I've seen how they act and what they can do, I certainly believe it. They are the largest reptiles around and can grow up to 6 meters long, sometimes even 8 meters. Saltwater crocodiles represent a type of animal that is quite rare, namely animals that really view human beings as prey. Swimming is prohibited here. At least it's certainly not a good idea, and you should also avoid getting too close to the water's edge. Well, exactly. Toralf, come over here with the camera. There's a wild boar rummaging about in the swamp behind me. Ideal food for crocodiles.
Ideales Krokodilfutter.
Seeing that, I thought, that's exactly what they would do with me. If a crocodile were to grab hold of me, it would throw me around just like a wild boar. It's crazy just how quickly they can suddenly explode out of the water, reacting to even the smallest of impulses. I have to say I have huge respect for crocodiles, and I think people need to have this respect because otherwise things get dangerous. We were in the area surrounding Lake Erie, where we wanted to film some landscapes. But all of these plans were soon sculptured because of the buzz sound that we heard the moment the sun came up, when we were suddenly surrounded by thousands of flies. They actually constantly prevent you from doing any filming whatsoever. You have to keep taking off your hat all the time to swat the flies away, to film a decent shot in which there aren't any flies sitting on your lens. I've literally never experienced anything so annoying before in my life, but if there are 1,000 flies in front of you, it doesn't make any sense to try to film. Let's get it over with, the flies are annoying. A lot of tasks where you'd think, that sounds really easy, turned out to be impossible. We eventually had to abort our attempts. Exasperated. And then one of the flies crawled into my ear. He spent the whole night whining to me about what he should do and whether or not we should go to the doctor. We couldn't get it out, it was impossible, but the doctor was 500 kilometers away. We tried to fish it out somehow using tweezers and other strange devices, but we just couldn't get to it. Insects can sometimes be very annoying. I'm a great animal lover, but even I have my limits. It eventually managed to escape during the night by itself. The next morning it was suddenly gone. The trouble with koalas is that they sit very high up in the eucalyptus trees, normally around 30 meters high. We were extremely lucky to find a place in which koalas are easy to film. The great thing about this location is that the trees aren't that high, so we were able to get to the same level as the animals thanks to the hilly landscape. He doesn't say anything. We used a pole cam for some of our koala filming. We were able to hold this camera directly in front of the koalas and they didn't react to it. They just continued to nurture their young completely normally and carried their young around with them as well as continuing to eat. The cute thing is that you can really see every single finger and watch what they are doing. I find these images quite bizarre because you're actually sitting up in the tree with them. I thought that was amazing. Excellent shots. At first I thought that koalas were boring animals, but I said, okay, we'll film them, we're in Australia, so let's take a look. You'd normally think that koalas are modest and calm companions, cozy and peaceful. But they do indeed also have a dark side, and they aren't exactly friendly when it comes to their female counterparts. The male tries to approach the female and somehow copulate with her. She's not keen though and hits him, scratches him and kicks him. And he's always right behind her. He's naturally stronger than the female, and if the female can land a good hit, then he retreats. Or the female pulls away completely onto very thin branches, onto which the heavy male can't follow her. I actually grew fond of them after seeing all the things they can do. The mothers were courageous, timid, loving. I now appreciate them much more. The tree kangaroos can only be found in northern Australia, in the tropical part. We weren't exactly sure if we would be able to film tree kangaroos. Tree kangaroos have become very, very rare because large parts of their habitat have been destroyed. But we knew where they still can be found, and so we went into the forest. And we basically started to look for them up in the treetops. And they are really hard to find because they don't move around that much, and when they actually decide to stay up there in the trees, among the densely packed branches, then it's almost impossible to find them. We spent many days looking for these animals without success. You actually need to spend more time looking at the floor rather than in the air in order to search for droppings that have fallen from the trees. Hang on a second, take a look at this. What's this? It looks like it came from a kangaroo, right?
Vom Känguru, oder nicht?
Definitely. It's still relatively fresh too, right? Yeah, some fell down here. So there's either a kangaroo up there, or it's already moved on. Although they normally don't move that quickly and it's so fresh. Let's have a look then. I can't see anything here at the moment. You can often only see a tail somehow hanging down from a branch. I think you look for the tails and then, hey, there's definitely a kangaroo attached to the tail. There. Exactly. You can see the tail, right? Or is it a liana? No. That's super. How on earth did you see that? By chance, is it a male or female? Wait a second, it's a female. Not bad. It has a pouch. I reckon there's a joey in there. Now it's peeking out. Look over here. It's sticking its head out of the pouch. How cute is that? We were particularly happy that we had been able to find a mother with her joey. We then followed this mother over a long period of time. So what do we do now? It's not in a good spot to film. Yeah, it's a bit too high, isn't it? The angle's too steep. Let's see if there's a good place to get a different camera view. Let's just quickly go in. It looks pretty good in here, doesn't it? I'm not sure if coming here really makes sense, but you don't know unless you try it. I think we spent a total of 3 weeks following the animal. 3 weeks times twice over even. Well, I can't see him anymore from where I'm standing, nor can I. I think we were better off where we were before. Maybe we'll get a better view from the back there. It's a bit more open here. A bit hidden. We filmed how the joey just peeked out from the pouch and then how he took his first steps. And that was special because I don't think anyone has filmed something like that before. You also sympathize with the little thing. You hope it all goes well. Don't try such daring climbing maneuvers. Don't fall, because farmers' dogs or wild cats are often running around down below. You really strongly sympathize with them. And the really sad thing about this tree kangaroo in particular is that I just found out that a wild dog apparently attacked the mother. She survived the attack, but her joey is gone. It died some time after we filmed it. This is particularly tragic because these tree kangaroos are very rare and really threatened by extinction. The lyrebirds really are unbelievably fascinating birds, but what's even more impressive is, of course, their courtship display. They have a huge repertoire imitating birds that they hear around them and incorporating them into their own song. The courting display takes place in a very densely packed environment, and we therefore had to get very close to these animals in order to get a clear view of them. Toralf, can you hear me? Can you still see the bird? Do you know where the lyrebird is? Hello Jens, I can hear the lyrebird approximately 30 meters south of us, sitting on a mound, and I reckon he's dancing. No idea, I think I've lost him. I'm going to head over there and we'll meet there. And we again spent days on end, about 10 to 12 days tracking one single bird. We just kept on following him. What he does is build himself an arena, which is pretty cool, right in the middle of the fern, that's normally about 2 meters wide, and then he starts to perform like a little madman, jumping around. The little guy really acts like a disco dancer. If I think back to my days as a teenager, it's a bit like I was back then. The tape is full. There's not even a minute left. Can you quickly go and get another one? You get unbelievably annoyed. Damn it, there are only 2 minutes left on the tape. Why didn't I change it before? You see, things like that sometimes mean missed opportunities, and that's unbelievably annoying. But good, it worked. When we had all the pictures in the can, we were really happy and a little bit proud. It was tough. Coming back here was definitely worth it. I agree. I'm really pleased with these images that we filmed, above all because we managed to achieve things that we didn't necessarily expect to achieve. We didn't expect to be able to film such excellent shots of cassowaries. We didn't think that we would be able to film huge flocks of Budgerigars. I reckon when I've finished editing the film and the final cut is sitting in front of me, I'll probably think, well, that was actually pretty easy, but getting to this stage was a huge struggle. This animal world that we were able to get to know while filming probably might not exist anymore in the future. I really got a lot out of my time in Australia on a personal level too. The landscape really teaches you to be in awe of your life because it's simply so unbelievably sparse and there are a large number of possible situations that are life-threatening.